Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Low Code Campfire. This is March 17, 2023. This is episode number 89. Today we'll be talking about beta testing for version 125 and anything else you want to talk about. This is an event we do Fridays, this same hour, this 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. And so if you're watching on recording, we would love to have you join us in person if you can. We get together and talk about Plant an App and techniques, challenges, experiences, and really we offer a lot of help and a lot of support for each other. So do join us, all skill levels welcome. We record these and put them out on YouTube. So youtube.com/plantandapp. You can find the Low Code Campfire channel. We'll run this agenda today where we'll introduce ourselves to the group, and then we'll do first call and some of these other things, talk about feature requests and submitted topics and things like that. But then after an hour or so, we'll go into Afterglow, which is our unrecorded segment where people get you get to really meet and know your Plant an App compatriots in the community. So do jump in, show and tell, chat with us, just interact. If you've got noise going on in the background, please mute. And you can submit questions and topics in advance using that QR code or the emails that we send to you. Good morning, all.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Good
everyone.
morning. Can you hear me okay today?
Yes, good morning.
Absolutely. First call, anyone got something going on we want to deal with?
Me. Oh, I just realized. Hi.
So it always helps me to think about you there by the beach in your office there. So
All right. So I have a question. Has anyone had issues in setting up a grid embedded in a form where it continually gives this little blue box on the bottom that says there's an error with this? Let me see, I'll tell you exactly what it says. An error has been detected on the page, which may cause problems with the operation of this application. Then it has a button that says click here to open in a separate window. The grid shows, but that stupid little message is appearing underneath the embedded grid. And I don't understand why. What did I do wrong?
is everything? First of all, I don't know directly. So if anybody has the answer, jump in. Is this all Bootstrap 3?
Yes.
I have seen that error before. Ben, is there only one embedded grid, or is there maybe more than one?
Just one.
Is there anything else embedded?
Nope.
Because I've only seen that when the thing that was embedded was not resolving.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was going to say too.
And I was wondering if maybe there was something else that was not resolving.
It can't be that because, like I said, the grid is showing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just showing the little error underneath it. I mean, I can show.
Yeah.
I could share it. Show you guys.
Does the grid make any API calls?
Nope. This is basically the beginnings of a new idea, which honestly, I don't even know if I can do this. But, you know, it's the most basic, just created pretty much a blank grid. There's nothing else really much going on the page.
Are you popping up the grid or it's
Nope.
inline?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are you making sure that everything is all the same, either SSL or non-SSL?
Yeah, there's, well, what do you mean by that? before I say
So I
anything.
assume it.
Well, let me put it this way: the source and the embed URL, I changed it so that it uses URL domain root and the full URL of the current tab ID. So it should take whatever the current protocol is, whether it's
And-
HTTP or HTTPS.
And is it HTTP or HTTPS?
Well, because I'm running on the server right now, it's not it's just straight HTTP. But when it's on the client, they'll be on the other side of the firewall, so they will be HTTPS.
But your embed code is calling the using your current domain root token. So that's what you changed the embed code to use that token.
Correct. So the token itself is going to return the correct protocol.
Well, I agree it should. I'm just wondering whether that could be at the heart of it, that something that.
But once again, I need to say though, just in case, is that and just like I think it was Mark said, I've seen that before, but I've never seen it where the grid actually renders. It just shows that, and then I go troubleshoot it. In one case, it was that the person didn't have they had copied the embed code, but then they had deselected the embed option before they saved the grid. And so the grid wasn't actually set up for embedding. That's one time I saw it, and I've seen it when there's a security issue, a mix between SSL. So yeah, but I've never seen the grid actually render and have that message.
So the grid's on the same page or a different page?
I tried both. They both come up with the same error. Because at first I thought to myself, oh, maybe it's because the grid is on the same page and it doesn't like embedding in a form that's on the same exact page. So I moved it to a different page, still got the error.
Have you looked at inspect and see if there's anything coming up in console, or sometimes
That's actually a good thing. I always forget to do that, so forgive me. Let me do that now.
well, and just for fun, take 5 minutes and I'll configure one here.
Well, I get a Maps Google error, which I get all the time now. And uncaught type error cannot read properties of undefined reading value. At eval. Yeah, I have no clue what this is talking about. Yeah, I'm lost on this error. It says an uncaught type error, but I don't know what it's referring to.
And while I think it should be the same, I just want to, just as a point of clarification, Dale is going through and reproducing a grid within grid, but you're doing a grid embedded in a form. Is that correct, Ben?
Correct.
You're using a static text field to embed? Okay.
Advanced UI settings. And then check embed.
Yeah,
I know I did the same exact thing. When I was trying to do this for the first, because I rarely ever do this, I'm like, I found it on the form and I'm like, where is the embed on the grid? I was looking everywhere for 15 minutes and then I was like, oh, it's under here.
Thanks for pointing that out, Patrick.
Oh yeah, sure.
So the grid, I've got that code, I've saved it. Mm,
In your forms at the top of the page, is that
Yes.
the form there?
Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get rid of this thing that was the wrong start. So we do this, and then we get out of edit mode here. So why would that grid still be showing? I have it in, oh, maybe
Well, I was wondering also, Did you-
Embedding the grid isn't going to make, or checking that embed grid doesn't make the original grid not appear.
right.
Got
But
it.
have you tried the show grid option? The, that's
If
maybe
you
you're
do
not,
that, it's going to vanish from both, just so you know. Sorry, Patrick.
what
You were
was,
saying?
oh, I was just wondering if you tried using the show grid, API.
In a manner of speaking, I did. The reason I'm doing the embed is because I want the grid to be a part of the form and above the submit button. If I use them as two separate modules, then the form has its little submit button and then the grid shows up beneath the form. And logically for this particular thing, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Like for the user, I'd rather the grid appear as if it was part of the entry form. You look confused.
Well, I'm thinking about it. I haven't tried this, but couldn't you use the show grid function to embed it into a static text field? You need to tell it. You would just need to tell it where to embed it.
show grid makes
I
it invisible, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of confused on what you're referring to there. Because the show grid is only if you set the grid to be initially invisible,
right,
then show grid only makes the grid appear.
right,
It doesn't tell it where to go. So that's the embed. If you want to move the grid somewhere else, you have to use the embed. But if you
yeah,
use the
okay.
show grid and
But you
the grid happens to be on the same page, then what's going to end up happening is two grids are going to pop up, the original and the embedded one.
Yeah, right, because yeah, but isn't the show grid though can be used for a pop-up though, right? So why couldn't it be used put it in a I'm really just exploring ideas. I'm not this is not something I've tried at all, so I'm just thinking out loud kind
On
of.
the topic of exploring ideas, I have done it before where I put the grid lower in the page and then I use JavaScript to move the grid into the form. So it doesn't show it, loads on the page, it quickly pops right back up into the form where I want it to be. And it's JavaScript that does that.
Which sounds like a cool option, but going with what Ben's trying to do, I mean, basically, except for the fact that it's still on the page, he's done what you were trying to do, right? And we're not getting an error. I understand at a very basic level, but he has put the action grid into a form.
I mean, like I said, the only thing I could think of is that I'm doing something wrong. I have a setting somewhere wrong, but for the life of me right now, don't see it.
Do you want to show us your implementation? Just maybe,
Yeah, I could try.
sometimes more eyes.
Are there errors in the admin log?
First thing I looked at, no errors get logged anywhere.
I'll give up the share in just a second here, but so now I've moved it to a new page, and now that my URL is in, so I'm going to go down there and get the URL. I'm yeah.
If you can remember where you put it, right?
Well, and remember to actually click on it. So, okay, so we've got a grid page that we view. Now I'm going to get it open here so I can keep working with it. And so if I go now back to the form, so embedding a grid works on the surface, right? So now you have an unusual circumstance.
Yeah, I'm certain your implementation is more complex.
Yep, and I don't think that I can. In mine, I don't think I can access this without SSL. Yeah, it flips me automatically. I'm going to bet it comes down to SSL. I'm going to stop and let you show us, please. And as a reminder, don't show anything that we have to blur.
Yeah. This is all, I mean, other than the domain name, it's all test data anyway,
Good.
test pages. Which screen am I on? This one. I mean, it could be the SSL thing, I don't know. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is basically my embed. As you could see, the source, I'm using the domain root, and here I'm using the full URL of the current tab ID. So these two will grab whatever the protocol is, and then you just, add the remainder part. Now, what I did was, because the grid is on the same exact page, the grid itself, I added this condition. So it's looking for a query string that says ShowGrid is equal to true. If that, and it defaults it to false if it's not there. So if ShowGrid is not true, the grid is not going to appear. Now, the reason
hang on a
Yep.
second. I'm just wondering about this. The grid. Oh, I see. So you're, well, but okay. Sorry, continue. I think this could be an issue, but let's.
Okay. The reason I did this is to prevent the grid from displaying twice, because it's on the same page. So by doing this, the grid's original location won't show, because show grid is always going to be false. Now in here, because this is the embed URL, in the URL, I put in show grid equals true. So in the embedded version, that one's going to have a query string of show grid equals to true. So the one that's embedded in the form will display, while the original will not. And then this is what happens. Here's the grid. So it's showing, but right after it, and this is within the form because these are the buttons, the grid is actually down here. So if I go into edit mode,
what happens if you do away with the condition, just for a testing purpose? Did you try that?
I believe I did, but let's just do that. So get rid of that, save. Same. So here's the original grid. And this
Yeah.
is the embedded one, no condition, but still errors.
So if you'll set it back up to your normal way, and then what I'd like to do is take a look at the network, inspect network. What I'm wondering is if there's any call, if we can see if there's any calls that are the wrong SSL. And I don't know how we, or any calls denied. Let's see.
That's that
Okay,
stupid Google map thing. I don't know why that continually is always failing. I don't even know what it's for because I don't use Google Maps. And that's it.
mhm.
So I didn't see anything other than 200s, except for that. Failed, but everything else. Yeah, status 200.
And nothing in the console. Did we look at that already?
That's this thing is the only thing that shows up that I don't know what this is referring to.
Oh, I'm sorry, the bottom part of that. Oh, that's the Google Maps.
Mhm.
It looks like that might be, it's got to be, what, something in your skin?
Could potentially be. Probably because the skin is old. I'm assuming maybe whatever it's pointing to on Google Maps maybe has been deprecated and now is causing an error, but it really doesn't matter to me because I don't use anything with regards to Google.
Yep.
Do you get the same result when you have data returned in your grid?
Well, right now, what I'm see, that's the other thing that's kind of quirky. This is kind of like I don't want to say a parent-child situation, but in a way it kind of is. The thing is, I want to have a grid of data here, but like, for example, this is right now my mode is an add, so I'm adding a new item. I can't add anything here until I have an actual record that exists. When I'm in add mode, I haven't created the record yet. I'm in the process of doing it. So what I want to do is be able to save this grid stuff, you know, whatever they put in there, as, how do I put that? Or how do I explain that? I don't know how exactly if this is even possible, but basically a temporary storage so that when I hit save, it takes whatever the grid information is, turns it into a big JSON string and dumps it into the same record as the rest of this information. For the time being, for testing purposes, all I did was I used a cookie or a init, and this is my little thing here, and I'm just saying init it to a blank array, and then I'm breaking out the array and just pulling out one value, which is item value right now. So this is actually coming back with no entries because I'm force feeding it right now a blank init value. If that makes sense.
It does, but my thought was, I wonder if when the grid's being embedded, that lack of data being returned is causing some sort of JavaScript type, you know, when it's trying to size up how much space in the grid to put on into the form.
I mean, well, let's try. I'll fudge some fake data in there. So hold on one second,
Or,
because
yeah,
I can do that. Didn't like that. Oh, the quotes. Probably. Was mixing quotes in there. Let's see if that gives me some That's probably because, wait a minute, I think I have in here.
So just to confirm, I've changed my little example to not return data, and it resolves just fine. It says no data.
I should probably delete this cookie first and then reset it. I forgot what the delete cookie. I don't ever use cookies. This is a first for me.
Yeah, you got to set cookie.
Is it? Oh, I thought there was a remove cookie. There isn't?
I think it's the first one. I think with just cookie, the first token.
Oh, wait, what? Oh, this one?
That one, yeah, I think there's a
Oh, there it is. Cookie remove.
Yeah,
I knew that was
yeah.
somewhere.
All right,
Now I'm starting to get hungry talking about cookies. Copy name. Okay. So that should remove the cookie, then add it with this default value. And of course, didn't like it. Unexpected character. I'm assuming that's a period. And I'm wondering if this is my tokens biting me again, because the fact that I'm doing an array here, this, I'm wondering if it's trying to turn this into a token.
might be
What if I put spaces? I may have to do that in here as well, just to be on the safe side. Oops, wrong one. There. If. Okay. It does not like spaces. This one tries to evaluate it immediately when you save it.
yeah.
Yeah, how come I don't like that? Well, this one's actually giving me the same error, so this is definitely. But I just saved it a second ago and it was fine.
You have an extra single quote out after the equal. Doesn't look like it's matching on the other end.
Single quote. Single quote. Double, 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 double. I don't see an extra one.
I'm sorry, why are we passing it in through a cookie?
It as a temporary location to store the information,
Right.
because it doesn't exist anywhere.
Right, why can't we just pass in the array?
Oh, well, that's true. I could do that for now, just for testing. Mm. Oops. Still.
Yep. So if we don't come up with any other answers today, I would suggest that you open a ticket with it, because then I'll ask our team to ascertain where this error comes from. I assume we're generating it, not the browser. So
I mean, has anyone ever had a situation or attempted to do something where like you have one record where one field has multiple entries that you wanted to control in a grid? Like eventually what I want this grid to be able to do is I want to be able to add and delete and edit entries in it. But again, my problem is when they're adding a brand new entry, you can't play with this until the record itself exists. So that's why that's where the cookie idea is coming in right now, is because I figured I got to have like a temporary storage location to kind of tweak that grid data. And then when I hit save, that grid data turns into a string and gets dumped in. Again, I don't even know if I can do that, but I'm gonna try.
So your goal is you're not saving anything until they click save. Is that where you're going?
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
coming in here as an edit of an existing record, that's not a problem. The data exists. The main issue is the first time. When a person is creating the very first record, you can't add sub information to a record that doesn't exist yet, not with, the normal behavior of a grid. The only way around this, and this is what I'm trying to avoid, is I like this kind of look to it because this logically makes sense. The only other option I'd be able to do is keep the grid out of the form underneath it. And when the person hits save, redirect back to this page as an edit with the record ID that I want to edit. And at that point, the grid can appear. If only if it's in edit mode, editing an existing record. But, then that's kind of weird because, they put in this information and hit save, and then it reloads this page, and all of a sudden then the grid appears because now they're in edit mode of an existing record. So I take it no one's
So
tried anything like that.
just for clarity on your this error appears, it does or does not appear when it's in edit mode.
Oh, it doesn't matter at the moment. It's just when it's embedded.
Yeah. Do you have any way to access this via SSL?
Let me try. I think I have this page set to. Yeah. All right. So I just did it on my machine, which is nope, hold on. Yeah, I don't know why it says not secure. It is HTTPS. Same thing.
Yep. Can we look at the not secure message in the browser? Just to it.
Oh,
Yes, click on it.
this.
Yeah.
I don't know why it's saying that.
So that's what I'm.
Come on, HTTPS.
Well, I'm wondering if like the part of the page is secure and not secure, and that's why it's.
Usually it would say that it's mixed mode here. This one is straight up saying I'm not on secure, but when you look here, it is using
And
HTTP. It even changes it.
If you remove the grid out of the middle of it, would it? Does that message go away?
Yes. Yeah. So if let me go in here. Where am I? Fields. Let's just say for argument's sake, false. Save. Here, settings, turn off. Embed. And remove that. So now that's just a grid displaying under the form directly.
Right, but
No.
okay. And when you go to your secure page, does it still say it's unsecure?
Yep. Oh, what is with the jumping? Okay, there we go. I don't know why it was just having a little fit over there with the jumping. And it is HTTPS.
Okay. Again, we've got to be doing, there's got to be something that we're detecting that is popping that blue message for you. So if you can't figure out what things do that, I
Okay,
might be
now
able
it
to
says
get guys to
secure.
look at the code and
Let
tell us
me
what thing that does.
copy, paste. Yeah, that's weird. Now it says it's secure.
I'm sorry, what did you do?
I literally just closed the tab and reloaded it. Just
Okay,
open up a new
but that's
tab and
what
did
I'm-
it again.
Well, okay, so
I think Chrome was just flipping out for whatever reason. I had reused a tab that I had like a Google search on. So I
Mhm.
just basically closed it out, started a blank tab, pasted in the same exact URL, and now it says secure.
okay, but now I'm concerned that again, it feels to me
Mhm.
like mixed mode might be part of the problem. So can you reset it up and in the embed variety and
Mhm.
see if you can.
Oh, I got rid of it. What did I
Windows
put here?
plugin?
Query. Oh yeah, that's true. Okay, that's weird. It's not in my clipboard. Oh, forget it. I'll just retype it. Query string where show grid.
I've seen that many times when Chrome messes with the address in my address bar. Takes what I've typed and it puts the
Yeah,
S in or takes it out.
I've seen that too. It never really bothered me much because I know I'm either secure or not because I could see it in the protocol. But for whatever reason, this little thing here says the wrong thing. Phases. Do that. Save and go back to embed.
Like you, my strategy is to put what I'm doing into a brand new tab and or I pop over to a different browser to get away from Chrome messing with my URL.
Okay, so this was the, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. This was the original load when it was separated.
Mhm.
Secure. This is on my machine, not the server. Reload. Same thing.
But it says not secure.
Yeah, and it switched to not secure.
Oh, for the love.
Which makes me think
There's
that-
something on the page, yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying it's intentional on your side. It could be we're doing something that ends up forcing it to be mixed.
Hold on 1 second. The only
Maybe
thing
it's that
I'm
call to
loading.
Google Maps.
Nope, this one's secure.
That's a good point. What is the call to Google Maps? Is that secure or unsecure?
There you go. You can search for HTTP : in the source.
HTTPS.
Okay, but if it's forcing it to be HTTPS on your server, can you look now on your server?
Yeah, but that wouldn't explain why it's happening on my client now. Oh, frack. What was I just looking at? Wait. Oh,
You could view the source of the page and search for HTTP :
yeah, okay, I'll do that next. Yeah, this, it doesn't show me.
In the network tab.
Oh, network. Duh. It would help if I was in the right form. Inspect. Network. Refresh. All right, where's that failure?
You skipped it.
What did I? There it is. Yes.
So it's secure on an insecure page. And we may be detecting the mixed mode. I'm not sure. So maybe you pick a different skin that doesn't have that.
But then, just out of curiosity, what would be the explanation here when this one is secure? This is outside of the server. This is supposed to be completely secure, and it
Yep.
still
Yep.
comes up with this. I mean, the only other thing I could try to do is maybe see if in the skin I could find where the heck this Google thing is and just remove it just so that
Can you pick
it stops
Exelon?
becoming an annoying. What was that?
Can you pick Exelon for the purposes of this test? You know,
Yeah, I guess. Edit.
You have to worry about BS5.
Nope.
yeah, BS3 or page builder. Still errors, and we just need to make sure that Google Maps went away, not coming from somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so it's definitely the skin causing the Google Maps one, but I have no clue what this is.
Mhm. Unless yeah. The fact that when you went to
Oops.
the page securely and it still pops up insecure makes me think at the end of the day we're going to get to something that's secure versus insecure mixed mode that our stuff is detecting and throwing the message on, but that's just a guess. If you want to, like I say, if you'll submit a ticket, if you don't figure it out and you'll submit a ticket about with that window screenshot, I'll ask the guys what triggers that message and get back on that.
All right. Sorry for eating up so much time.
No, it's a good it's a good mystery.
It's good for all of us to see that kind of stuff. If we don't see it with you, we're
Ghost.
going to see it with our own page sometime.
Besides that, I learned something if the technique that you had, basically you could take a JSON array and pass it directly into a listing as a data source by using SQL. And I had somebody recently who was trying to do essentially that, and we don't have directly a JSON. I mean, you can do a server request JSON and get data, but if you want to use JSON that you already have and not send it to a file that comes back, you could pass it in through a SQL. And I hadn't thought about it that way. So I feel like I've learned a lot by watching over your shoulder.
I've never before until I'd say maybe about 6 months ago, little over, started using JSON. I never really used JSON prior to that. Everything was always directly in the tables.
Mm-hmm.
And doing multiple records or whatever. And now that I've played more with it and I'm getting more comfortable with it, I'm like, sometimes it's just easier to have one table as opposed to a parent-child table where the one table has a field and that field is just JSON that has more in-depth data. It's really good if, in a lot of my cases, it's because I need dynamic information. So it might be 3 fields that I'm storing for this one record, 4 fields that I'm storing for the other record. You can't really do that with a table because you have to have all the fields, designated, and then you'll have to put null values. But if you have JSON, you just build it as you need it for each record, individually.
You don't need a normalized structure, but you do need to capture those relationships. The use case that I saw with this was kind of interesting. It was a security conscious where they're pulling information from a system, don't really want to store any data into the Plantain app. It's just all about APIs. And so they just don't want to have leftover data that they can want to clean up, anything like that. So the idea that they're pulling the data dynamically and not storing it anywhere means, okay, now we're presenting a grid of information that they're going to act on. So think about it in terms of like a listing of invoices that need to be paid, and the user is going to choose which invoices that they want to pay. So now, by transforming those selections into JSON, you can pass that to the next page to work with. And one of the possible, in his case, he's taking the JSON and manipulating it, turning it into a nice invoice, things like that. But if you wanted to list it in a table, it would be very listable, just using the technique that you showed. So makes a lot of sense to me.
What could you expand on how that ShowGrid API is to be used?
Who are you asking, Patrick?
Nobody wants to volunteer.
Yes, I'm asking Patrick, I suppose.
Well, he was the one who originally mentioned it.
Yeah. What's that? It says for. That looks good.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's supposed to be used for I wish it was a little bit more explicit, with in similar like that we had the functions that were similar to the open form pop-up functions. But that's the idea, is that you're supposed to be able to accomplish what you can do with the opening a form and a pop-up functions with but do it with a grid.
So it should pop up a grid.
Mm-hmm.
It's not for embedding a grid, right?
Right.
Mark, just so you know, the beta section does that. If you want to see like a visual of it happening,
Okay.
it opens up grids as a pop-up.
Okay. Well, as a matter of fact, we should be talking about beta, shouldn't we?
Great segue.
Yeah.
A little bit.
All right, let me get my notes.
So just to kind of thinking about that, we have show listing and pop up. What are the actions? Show
Yeah, as
listing
an
and
action.
pop-up, and
Right.
go back to sharing here because
And that works.
show listing, pop up, and continue execution, stop execution. That's the one you were asking about, right, Mark?
No, I mean, I know how to use the action. Patrick was referring to the API, I believe. It's in the spreadsheet of DNN API.
Patrick, were you talking about the JavaScript or the action?
Well, both. I mean, the action uses the function, so that's
Okay, so I've used the action. I haven't just tried using the JavaScript before.
I think
Yeah,
for
so-
me, it was in reverse because I think the action is new, right? That didn't exist before. It was
They came at the
only
same time.
available.
Yeah.
Well, you're right. Yes. So
No,
we
the
did. You're right.
API
We
was
did.
first.
We did the API, and then in a while later, we added the action. But the action uses the API.
Right, because I
Okay.
used it as Java, as the JavaScript API call directly in the
Mhm.
beta section because the action didn't exist just yet.
Okay, cool.
Yep. So at the end, from an action standpoint, we now have the ability to open listings, forms, and tabs within with an action. And of course, with opening a tab, that's everything that's on the tab comes along. So that also gives you forms, listings, and HTMLs and whatever. So lots of pop-up capability there. So yeah, beta, talking to the product manager, Peter, earlier today, we're scheduling 125 to come out for beta next week. The date hasn't been set, and it's probably going to be Thursday, or it would be my best guess. And at the moment, it's going to be scheduled for about a week as well. So we are starting our internal UAT on it, and just want to give you the heads up that it's happening for next week.
Okay, good.
You've seen some of the features on it. It's this week. Patrick and I are gonna show the rest of the new features, right? Isn't that the plan, Patrick? In low code
Yep. That's,
cafe. So you have a preview of that. Thinking about, I'm sorry, before we move on from beta, any particular questions that I can answer or try to answer? Low Code Cafe, we're going, this is just conversational. We're going to move that to a, would it be bi-weekly, every other week segment for a while. So just a heads up that we won't be having that every week for the immediate future. It will be going on this week, though. Anyone else with something you want to ask? 6 minutes.
I think there's probably a quick question. I noticed, Dale, when you were creating a new form just now, when you went to start working on the form, it gave you a long list of form templates that were there. And I'm remembering that it seemed like there used to be a short list of standardized templates, like a login form and a registration form that used to be standard as offerings on a brand new form, and they mostly are gone now. Is that just for me, or did you add all those in manually? Is that why they're there?
So, well, my instance is very old and has lots of stuff, but I
Yeah.
think new ones, we have a more limited list. You still can, you can create your own as well. Those templates, if there's something that you do all the time, there's a way to create those. But I think it's just limited in the newer ones.
Yeah, I guess I just noticed that there used to be more and now there's less. And I used to use them every once in a while.
Yep.
yeah, I
Okay.
think I remember that maybe we discussed that that we were getting the impression they weren't widely used, and they were old templates, and so they would have to all be recreated in Bootstrap 5. And I think that I can't recall exactly, but I think maybe
Yeah, there
Yeah.
was. I think it was an issue with a lot of
Yeah.
old ones that were that just hadn't had any attention. So Bootstrap 5 is an issue. The basic process is that the export of the export of a form can be saved as a file on a specific place on the file system, and then that becomes a template, making it selectable as a template. So you could design, or we could design and templates that are then in that file system. If we don't, but they're not, until you, I mean, they just load a load content into action form, and then you can go on and edit it. There's no big magic. So if it was set up for Bootstrap 3, or if it had field types, for example, that we've since obsoleted or updated the date time things or things like that, they would load with errors. So and then what Patrick said, the sense that those things were seldom used, were it wasn't worth the effort to recreate them, so we quit distributing them, I think it was our answer. And I'm looking for an app that has something that I created here recently that we could see on that. Just what's being distributed. But point is, the functionality is still there. You could just
Sure, yeah, I've done that. Thank you. You know how to do that. I was just thinking that there were some missing, but that's a good explanation.
Under the category of things we've seen hiding on Dale's computer, I saw a FedEx add-on on yours, or maybe it was Patrick's one time, that I don't see in the list. Is that something you guys had just internally?
Dale, I'm not aware of a FedEx integration. Are you?
nope, but I'm gonna look that up here.
So, in the absence of a official FedEx integration, which I'm fairly certain we don't have, but I might be surprised. But maybe, Jim, if I was screen sharing with you during, an office hour or something like that, I did a proof of concept for a client for accessing the FedEx API. So you might have seen on my site menu, you might have seen FedEx POC or something like that on my site menu.
So
That's just
That could be. I mean,
possible context. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I go to the FedEx site and export their CSV and load it up, regularly now. So
Yeah, they have a very comprehensive API. So that's what I was doing is with that POC for a client, is I was accessing the FedEx API and getting shipping rates, I think is what it was doing.
So I see something on build internal about FedEx tracking, Patrick.
Oh, maybe that's it.
Okay, here we are, manage form on a new system. What's in the list? This is exciting. Not much.
It looks like it's cut off. I've noticed that
Yes.
too.
And
What's up with that?
well,
It's a CSS problem.
it is, and
Yeah.
we have I used to know how to expand this out. Question is whether there's more things on there that we just can't see.
So something's got a height set.
Yeah. I can't remember what it is either. Dale, I've done it before too, and I
you could look at the computed item on the right-hand side. We're in styles now. If you look at computed,
Yeah, there's only
But-
two things out.
Yeah, you fixed it. Yep, the contact form is the only one.
okay. So that, yeah, so there's just the two things.
And if there are some add-ons that will add some basic forms there too. So I forget which ones they are. I think maybe like if you install the authorize.net add-on, I think it adds a payment form into the list. But
Okay.
yeah, but like that registration form you were mentioning, there was many problems with that. The not using BS5, but also it was using some obsolete actions. So some things like that. It really needed a complete rebuild.
Okay. Related to that, obsolete actions, you know, when you make a new entity, I know I'm shifting gears here. When you make a new entity and it creates a listing in a form for you, is it still using obsolete actions for creating tokens during that process? It was. I didn't look today.
It is. Yeah.
Is there going to be a quick way to convert all those into a newer process? Because every day we work, we're creating more backlog of work to do once we get that switched over.
Yeah. Before, yeah, obviously, the all along the idea is that once we officially remove it, we'll do a migration script,
All right, great.
include a migration script with the.
All
So
right.
shoot, my plan of not working anymore until you guys get that changed just fell out the window, didn't it?
So Ben, I see you have your hand up. Did you want one last thing in the recorded session? And down. All right.
It would help if I unmute. Yeah, just one quick question. Being that we were talking about APIs, I was toying with an idea in my head about being able to automatically import data from, let's say, Google AdWords or Google Analytics or something like that. Are there any either integrations already set up or samples or whatever of how to access Google's API structure using Plantanet?
Yeah.
Because I think I
In-
know they recently changed, well, not recently, they changed it a while back. I used to access it a long time ago, but they went from whatever they were using, I think, to now like OAuth or something like that, OAuth 2 or whatever the new thing is. And I've never played with it again. Like, are there any samples on how to do that?
So I don't know direct samples. Patrick, help me, but I'm pretty sure that in the Academy course, we integrate with Google. So
Yeah.
we covered we were doing that, I think, in APIs.
Mhm.
So if
Yep.
you signed up for the course and then you can just fast forward to the part where we're working with APIs, I think you'll find it.
All right, I'll take a look. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, Patrick, it's going to be on you. I'll sing the ending song, but you're gonna
Okay.
So thanks for joining us, everyone, for another episode of the Low Code Campfire. We're going to adjourn to the unrecorded section, but we'll be back here again next week. Thanks.
Thanks, Dale.